Ashley Fetters of GQ magazine wants to thank President Barack Obama. On Wednesday, she specifically expressed her gratitude to Obama for giving her the best sex of her life. In a column titled, "Thanks, Obama, for 4 years of glorious, worry-free sex," she praised Obama for ending her fears of accidental pregnancy. Here is her basic take, quote, "Look, I don't have to tell you how quickly the fear of accidentally getting someone pregnant can kill your sex drive, but you know who's been out there for the last 8 years tirelessly waging a war on this horrible, boner-killing feeling of dread? President Obama. If you've had sex with a woman in the last 4 years and found the encounter totally, gloriously unplagued by angst about the risk of surprise fatherhood, you probably owe Barrio a moment of gratitude." See, all irresponsible people who somehow disconnect sex with the risk of pregnancy could have their biologically based fears alleviated by simply tipping their hats, so to speak, to the man who could cure it all, Barack Obama. What gave Obama this godlike power? Well, he wanted everyone else to pay for your contraceptives. Says Fetters, quote, "As a result, the second term of Obama's presidency, and the year 2016 in particular, is already being called a golden age of birth control. Team Obama also gifted you a golden era of fun, low-risk banging with your wife, your girlfriend, or the friendly gal who was nice enough to accompany you home from the bar. Because, surprise, turns out we're all more fun to have sex with when we're not preoccupied with the worry of not accidentally creating babies." Actually, it turns out, speaking from personal experience, sex is actually kind of fun, even when you're trying to have babies. And it's not actually up to the taxpayers to guarantee your level of fun. If you can only feel orgasmic, if you're not worried about baby making, here's a suggestion. Pay for your own contraceptives. It turns out society doesn't have much fun and much of an interest in upping your game. Plus, it turns out contraceptives don't actually protect you from the other risks associated with picking up randos in bars for a quickie. According to the CDC, STD rates are rising again. Now some stats. Despite Obama's massive coverage plan, nearly half of all pregnancies in 2011 were unintended. The rate of accidental pregnancy among poor women was 112 per 1,000, quintuple the rate among middle-class women. The accidental pregnancy rate among black women was 79 per 1,000. Yes, accidental pregnancy declined generally in slight fashion and among poor women more substantially under President Obama, but accidental pregnancy among poor women remains sky high compared to the rest of the population, which suggests that perhaps the big problem here is not access to contraceptives, but personal sexual choices. And the accidental pregnancy rate, it should be noted, has been dropping steadily since the 1980s, though it did accelerate that drop under President Obama. But there's another issue here, too. Who in the world declared that people have a right, quote, to have sex enthusiastically and fearlessly without concern about consequences on the taxpayer dime? It turns out sex often has consequences, but those consequences can be mitigated by a bit of personal responsibility. We are all capable of not putting that there without that thing on it. Contraceptives are cheap. They are widely available. And believe it or not, human beings are not animals who must have sex right now, this very minute, rather than using some self-restraint. But according to Fetters and much of the left, without Obama, we'd all be knocking each other up at insane rates. Here's what she says, quote, "In other words, some 55 million American women may have to start choosing again between low-risk sex with men and all the other myriad out-of-pocket expenses of adult life. Anxiety-free sex or dinner on the table. Anxiety-free sex or the rent. For many women, these could soon become everyday trade-offs." Seriously? Really? The average rent in the United States as of 2013 was about $1,200 per month. Let's assume the average woman in the United States has sex a couple of times per week. That's probably on the upper end, or 8 times per month. You can currently buy a 36-pack of Trojans on Amazon for under $14. So a full year of contraception, even if you're using Trojans during the non-fertile period, would be approximately $42. Realistically speaking, very few Americans are choosing between rent, $1,200 a month, and condoms, under 40 cents a pop. But when you worship government, you have to praise your God for his benevolence. And that means bowing before the big man who ensures you never have to worry about being punished with a baby. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. Alrighty, so we are going to get to people trying to burn themselves to death because Trump is going to be inaugurated. We'll be getting to Vladimir Putin doing his best Donald Trump impersonation, really, and all sorts of other goodies. But first, we have to say thank you to our friends over at Tracker. Tracker is this device that allows you to keep track of all the things that you lose. It's a coin-sized device that locates misplaced keys and wallets and bags and computers, anything in seconds. You pair it to your smartphone, you attach it to anything, and you can find your precise location with the tap of a button. Also, if you attach it to your phone, there's something in the tracker that allows it to actually override your silent the silent setting on your phone. So if you call your phone from another phone, it'll ring through if you call and the tracker is on the phone, which is super cool. It's great for me because my wife loses her phone literally every day. The tracker has been one of the handiest devices that we have, and it has saved our marriage because there's nothing more irritating to me than spending 45 minutes looking around for her phone before she discovers it's exactly where she left it, in her purse. Tracker solves that problem in about 10 seconds. And right now, if you listen to the show, you get a free Tracker Bravo with any order. You go to tracker.com, thetracker.com, THEtracker.com. You enter promo code Ben. And if you get that, if you do that, you get a free Tracker Bravo with any order. Again, it makes losing things something you don't have to worry about anymore. Thetracker.com, enter promo code Ben. That shows that we sent you. And also, it means that that you're never going to lose anything ever again. Thetracker.com/Ben. Get that free Tracker Bravo with your purchase over at thetracker.com. Okay, so the Democrats are preparing for this inauguration, and the wailing and the gnashing of teeth is a sight to behold. I mean, it is utter madness. A dude actually tried to set himself on fire, apparently, in front of Trump Tower the other day, but being a Democrat, he even failed at this. So here is the dude setting himself on fire.
I was trying to light myself on fire.
Why were you
as an act of protest? As an act of protest.
Protesting what?
Protesting the fact that we've elected somebody who is completely incapable of respecting the Constitution of the United States.
Okay, so you have to give it to the protesters of Vietnam, in Vietnam particularly. They actually set themselves on fire successfully. This dude couldn't even set himself on fire successfully. So Darwin nearly accomplished his mission, but apparently when you're too stupid to actually set yourself on fire successfully, you don't take yourself out of the gene pool. So this dude tried to set himself on fire, but being a good leftist is incapable of actually immersing himself in fire. He's of self-immolating. His self-immolation was as much of a failure as Hillary's campaign. So well done there, sir. Other lefties who are very upset. Snoop Dogg is very upset that he may not be invited to the White House to toke. And so he's threatening any black performer who performs at the inauguration. He's saying that he will bring the vast wealth of his rage down upon their benighted heads. Here is Snoop Dogg, one of our great cultural icons, speaking about what he's going to do to stop the Trump inauguration.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the out one of you, Uncle Tom, for doing it. Which
They're
one
all
of you
Uncle
is gonna do it
Toms.
first?
He's gonna roast him.
The one that performs for himself.
Nothing says racial unity quite like calling people who want to give Trump a chance an Uncle Tom. And really, I mean, I can see why Barack Obama invited Snoop Dogg to the White House so many times. He did. Snoop Dogg was at the White House multiple times. But I guess that means that Snoop Dogg is now a political commentator. I'd like to see Mark Lamont Hill and Michael Eric Dyson talk about why Snoop Dogg should shut up about politics, since clearly he doesn't know anything, or if they only reserve their ire and scorn for Steve Harvey and Jim Brown. Meanwhile, actual top-level Democrats continue to say that they're not going to legitimate the Trump presidency. They're very, very upset about the Trump presidency. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she says that she won't say that Trump is a legitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference with the campaign.
Is he a legitimate president then or not? I mean, is there a distinction between those two things in your mind?
I'm not going to I'm not going to weigh in on the application of the term legitimate or not.
And if someone is qualified to weigh in on whether something is legitimate, it is certainly the woman who helped rig the primaries against Bernie Sanders in favor of Hillary Clinton and then had to resign her post as head of the DNC because of it. She clearly has a leg to stand on talking about legitimacy. She's not the only one. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer from New York, he says that he respects all of the inauguration boycotters because, hey, Trump isn't really that legitimate.
So I respect where they're coming from. I mean, I think each person has to make his or her choice on his own, but I don't begrudge those who have said they're going to boycott.
Would you urge Senate Democrats to attend?
Let each person make his or her own decision.
And he says that he didn't say he's going to order Senate Democrats to go to the inauguration, but none of the senators are actually boycotting because a lot of them are vulnerable, and the last thing they want to do is tick off those voters in the middle. So there is Chuck Schumer saying that this is illegitimate. So the Democrats have built up this entire big narrative about how this election was illegitimate because of Russian hacking, because of WikiLeaks sponsored by Russia hacking the DNC and hacking John Podesta's emails, and therefore this election is illegitimate and Trump's an illegitimate president. Well, along comes Barack Obama. Barack Obama has, because he's actually capable, set his own party on fire. Unlike self-immolation guy who couldn't even set himself on fire successfully, Barack Obama didn't try to set himself on fire. He set all the other Democrats on fire, destroyed them down ballot, destroyed them in the House, destroyed them in the Senate, 241 members of the Republican House, 52 members of the Republican Senate, 32 governorships owned by Republicans. Barack Obama lost Democrats 1,000 seats across the country. And on his way out the door, he wants to torch their only narrative too. So their narrative right now is that Trump is totally illegitimate because the Russians hacked the election. So, WikiLeaks are bad, right? I mean, this is what we've been hearing for the past few months. WikiLeaks are just the worst thing in the world. According to the left, WikiLeaks are now terrible because WikiLeaks impact the election. And WikiLeaks are working hand in glove with the Russians to help Donald Trump. So Barack Obama, he comes along, and his last move in office, hopefully it'll be one of his last moves in office because he still has 48 hours to screw things up some more. His last move is that he pardons, or doesn't pardon, he commutes the sentence for Chelsea Manning, who is the traitor who handed a lot of the original information to WikiLeaks, including the names of American soldiers, including confidential information about American ops that put American lives in harm's way, including information that Osama bin Laden himself said he found valuable. Chelsea Manning, who was then Private First Class Bradley Manning, gave all this information to WikiLeaks. And Barack Obama was the guy who was actually in office when Bradley Manning was put in jail. Then, of course, Bradley Manning decides that Bradley Manning is transgender. Bradley Manning believes that he's a woman now, and so he calls himself Chelsea Manning. So I call him Chelsea Manning now because it is possible in America and everywhere else to change your name. It is not possible to change your sex. So he is a man, and his name is Chelsea Manning if he wants to be called Chelsea Manning, just like Caitlyn Jenner is a man who calls himself Caitlyn Jenner. So just to put the transgender stuff to the side for a second. Here is the problem for Barack Obama. So the entire left has now made this case that WikiLeaks is the worst thing that ever was in the history of mankind. It's terrible, 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 terrible. They impacted the election. They've destroyed everything. And then along comes Obama, and he says, oh yeah, the WikiLeaks guy, the one who's in jail and endangered American national security and put American soldiers in harm's way? Yeah, I'm going to let him out. So WikiLeaks is okay as long as it endangers American soldiers, but it's not okay when they're hacking John Podesta's emails about spirit dinners, about spirit cooking. Right? That's when WikiLeaks becomes bad. It exposes the entire Democratic routine about how terrible WikiLeaks is when he is releasing the WikiLeaks guy. He's releasing one of the lead WikiLeakers, and his excuse for doing so is really ridiculous. He says Manning feels bad about what Manning did, which is insane. Watch how long that lasts. In 2 seconds, Manning will be hired by New York University probably to lecture about terrorism and war. He'll become a professor. And talk about. He'll be Bill Ayers. Right? This is not a situation where Chelsea Manning is somehow really, really sorry about what Chelsea Manning did here. That's ridiculous. They also said that Chelsea Manning had served part of his sentence. It was a 35-year sentence. He served 7 years. But really what this was about in large part was the fact that Chelsea Manning was transgender. So the left values transgender politics above all else. LGBT politics matter more than anything else. It's literally a get-out-of-jail-free card in this particular scenario. So Chelsea Manning has had some hormone treatments. I don't believe Chelsea Manning has had the snip, but I think Chelsea Manning has had the hormone treatments, and that means that Chelsea Manning must be let out of prison, lest Chelsea Manning be in a men's prison and be a man who thinks he's a woman. That would be absolutely terrible, so the left wants to let Chelsea Manning out of prison. And this, of course, undercuts the entire Democratic case. So they're saying Trump's illegitimate because of WikiLeaks. But WikiLeaks is so not a problem that we can release the WikiLeaks guy. It shows the hypocrisy on the part of the left. Now, there's hypocrisy on the right, too. So the right has determined that Julian Assange is a hero now. Sean Hannity wants Julian Assange pardoned. Sean Hannity thinks Julian Assange is wonderful now. So is Sean Hannity all that mad about Chelsea Manning being let out of prison? Is Sean Hannity, and what excuse does he have if he is angry that Chelsea Manning was let out? So it's okay when people are hacking American institutions like the DNC, but bad when they're revealing secrets about the Army? Is that the way this works? There's a lot to toss over here. And then we have to get to what is Barack Obama's actual true motive in all of this. And we'll get to that in just a second. But first, we have to say thank you to another one of our advertisers. This, of course, is Ring. So I've talked about the Ring of Security Kit and what Ring does for me. We use Ring at home all the time. We have this put on our front gate, and it's fantastic. It means that we can always check to see who's dropping off a package. We have security concerns, and we've had a lot of death threats, and Ring helps us deal with that because a lot of the people who are there to burglarize the house or who are there to do something nefarious, first of all, there's a camera on the property. Second of all, a lot of them ring the doorbell to see whether you're home or not. And what Ring does is it rings to your phone. So you can act like you're home or you can see who's there. You have an eye on your property at all times. They also have an advanced motion detection technology that comes with the Ring of Security Kit. And it includes a Ring video doorbell for the front door and a Ring stick-up cam and the wireless weatherproof HD camera, which keeps an eye on other parts of your property. As I say, I have a wife and 2 kids under 3 at home, and so I'm vastly interested in security. Ring helps me feel secure. I've bought extra Ring products for my house because I think that Ring is such a good product. Go to ring.com/Ben right now, and if you do, you get $150 off your kit, which is a pretty good deal. Ring.com/Ben for $150 off your kit. It helps prevent home burglaries. It helps ensure that your property is safe at all times. You can always keep an eye on who's there. Ring.com/Ben for $150 off your security kit, and to thank them for sponsoring our show. Okay, so I want to get to President Obama's actual motive in all of this. What does Obama want from the Chelsea Manning pardon? So I think that Barack Obama is vastly interested in just undermining the national defense of the country. I really think that President Obama does not believe that the national defense of the country is as important as the social justice that he pursues. This is why he's used the Department of Defense as a sort of testing ground for various social justice theories. I'm getting all sorts of emails, by the way, from soldiers the last couple of days who are saying that they're being trained on this new transgender policy put in by President Obama, and it basically says that soldiers have no right to privacy, that now if you have a man who's in the female bathroom, that all the women just have to deal with it. Okay, this is Barack Obama not attempting to make the military stronger. It's Barack Obama attempting to use the military as a sort of laboratory experiment for his politics. And he's done this throughout. He doesn't care if he endangers the national security of the United States by sending terrorists abroad and shutting down Gitmo. He doesn't care if he endangers the national security of our allies. In fact, one of the other people that Obama pardoned yesterday, was this general, Cartwright, who helped leak to the New York Times all the information about the Stuxnet virus that Israel and the United States cooperated on in order to hamper the Iranian nuclear program. Obama pardoned that guy. Why? Because Obama hates Israel and he likes Iran. He thinks Iran should be a regional power. So President Obama, this is all part and parcel of Obama's dual goal here, which is social justice warrior stuff with the army, which makes them the happiest. I mean, if the social justice warriors can take over that repository of machismo and militarism, the U.S. military, then they can take over anything. And so Obama takes a little bit of glee in doing that. Beyond that, President Obama really doesn't care much about the safety and security of the country. He thinks that safety and security of the country is achieved through softness. He thinks it's achieved through kindness and generosity, that it's not achieved by being the scariest guy on the block, which, of course, is idiotic. But the left is beginning to realize that what Obama just did really hurts the left. Jake Tapper over on CNN, he says this Manning commutation, it really destroys President Obama's entire line that he cares about leaks, and it also destroys the entire Democratic line that they care about leaks.
Commuting the sentence of one of the most notorious leakers. You could argue that Chelsea Manning did it for a good reason, to expose war crimes or whatever case you want to make, but it certainly contradicts the last 8 years of policy in terms of leaking.
And it absolutely does, of course. He's not the only one saying this. Bob Menendez, Democrat of New Jersey, he's puzzled by this too. He says, I'm not sure what message this is supposed to send to WikiLeaks. We're trying to police WikiLeaks, and here you are releasing the WikiLeaker.
What Russia did as it relates to our recent elections and the role that WikiLeaks in a different iteration has played in that regard, I'm not sure what type of message we send here. And so I'm really surprised that the president took action, and I have concerns about what message we send about ultimately revealing sensitive national security documents.
Again, the Democrats don't know what to do with President Obama, and he doesn't care about them. He only cares about his own legacy. He pleased the far left. As CNN's Jeff Zeleny said, he said, it's almost impossible to imagine this commutation happens in the first place if Chelsea Manning is just a dude and doesn't believe he's a woman.
You have to wonder if the outcome would be the same.
I mean,
because
I think
she transitioned. Exactly, because she transitioned from a man to a woman. I think that certainly played into this. Without that, it's hard to imagine. I think this president would have done that.
So O.J. Simpson is busily attempting to cut off his own dinghy right now so that he can earn a commutation from President Obama at the last minute. If only Julian Assange had decided that he was a woman and gotten some boob implants, then maybe President Obama would consider letting him off the hook as well. We have to break here at Facebook and YouTube, but we have much more coming up about the inauguration. We have a lot more coming up about Vladimir Putin and about delusional Democrats. And a pretty epic things I hate today. So we'll have to go to dailywire.com to check that out, or to listen later on iTunes and SoundCloud. Subscribe at iTunes. Review us at iTunes. We know you love us, so make sure that you send a 5-star review in over at iTunes if you're a fan. dailywire.com is where you subscribe. $8 a month. And for that $8 a month, you not only get to see the rest of the show live right now, right this instant. You don't have to wait for us to post it later. You also get to be part of the mailbag tomorrow. You also get a free signed copy of my book, True Allegiance. And we have some more goodies that are coming out. The Shapiro store is going to be opening in just the next couple of weeks, and we have other benefits that are coming as well. You get to see Andrew Klavan's show live in color, and his show is great as well. You get to be part of the mailbag on his show. He and I are going to start launching some additional kind of content that we're going to be putting out for subscribers only. So go to dailywire.com right now and subscribe. We are the largest conservative podcast in the United States.